Make my good morning and welcome to the Sunday Sideline Report here on the Sports Insanity Network, brought to you by the Dugout of Millwood, the best place to get your sports cards these days. Well, we'll get into what happened yesterday in a little bit, but we're at the big weekend with the good games on. We got the NFC battle. We got the Packers and my Cowboys. And then who really cares about the 8 o'clock game? It's really all about the 4 o'clock game. I mean, they canceled the 1 o'clock game because, oh, it's too snowy, but we can play where a player's helmet smashes all over the place. But that's okay. Thank you very much for listening to my morning rant. Now we're going to kick it over to the pub master to get us into the wild card weekend. Mike, good morning.
Well, I thank you, partner. All right, yeah, we'll talk about yesterday's games. We'll preview the upcoming games. And listen, I got a hot take this for a second because you said who cares about the 8 o'clock game? The 8 o'clock game you couldn't script any better. The first Detroit Lions home playoff game in 30 years, and it's against that dude.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
you can't write that stuff, but yeah. So all right, but let's before we dive into today's stuff and even tomorrow's stuff, we'll recap yesterday. Two games in the AFC wild card round. Neither. Let me start with this. The first game was actually pretty competitive to a point, and then
The
stuff
floodgates
hit the
opened.
fan. The Houston Texans defeat the Cleveland Browns 45-14. CJ Stroud, quite the playoff debut, 16 of 21, 274 yards, three touchdowns. For Cleveland, Joe Flacco, 34 46, 307 yards, a touchdown, and two interceptions, both of which returned for touchdowns. The first time in a playoff game since the 2008 Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah. Unbelievable. This game got bad fast. It was one mistake after another. And I remember texting you about it yesterday. I said, dude, is that like I'm going back doing stats and look. And one of the best stats that I found was Brett Favre did throw a couple interceptions that were returned for pick sixes, during his tenure in the same game, but just not back to back.
And listen, this was a close game. This game was 17-14. And then with about a minute left in the half, CJ Stroud finds Dalton Schultz for a big touchdown, puts him up 10 going into halftime. And you thought, all right, Cleveland's still in this game. And then Joe Flacco returns in revenge of Joe Flacco because he will always be a Baltimore Raven. And he throws the back to back pick six, his first one to Steve Nelson, the second one to Christian Harris. But listen, we talked a little bit Flacco, but CJ Stroud, he is a dude.
He's a friggin' beast. And you have to look way beyond the numbers here. Yeah, it's 16 for 21, 274, and three. I mean, you don't get almost more perfect than that. This was against the best defense in football, in my opinion. And you just got picked apart, not only by your offensive rookie of the year winner. I mean, that's it. It's solidified. There is nobody else who's getting that. But can you say that CJ Stroud could possibly be in the AFC nomination for MVP?
He's getting probably get some votes.
I mean,
He listen. I don't think he'll win it, and I also think his concussion will take him out for a bit. But I do think he'll get some votes, just like Patchy gets the most valuable fish cutter, the most valuable fish cutter award at work.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So for all of you who don't know, the man who is probably sliced his hand and holding it while it's bleeding, again, is our president, President Patchman. And he and I have a battle at 4 o'clock. Packers, Cowboys, baby.
Oh, I have to see this. Hold up a second.
Oh, Dan's coming back in for this.
Because it's
We know
rare.
Patchman is on his break, so yes, we are switching our schedule a little bit.
Yeah, we're jumping, guys.
Because Patch is here. This is a great moment.
I have not seen Lawrence Patchman Lang in like a trillion years. So this is great to see.
So we got the Packers Cowboys playoff meetings 8 times, 4-4. From the Ice Bowl to Dez caught it. I don't care. Shush, I'm talking. Okay. 8 times in the playoff, these two teams have met. And, there's historic games, the Ice Bowl. There's the great game, in 1994, the NFC divisional, Aikman to Harper for 95 yards. But then you also have 2014, Dez caught it. And then, of course, 2016, you don't give Aaron Rodgers more than 10 seconds. So we now have a battle. He'll still going to leave Pat with no love today.
He'll still find a way with 10 seconds left to beat the Cowboys.
Against this defense, you actually think your Swiss cheese, cheddar cheese team is going to do anything?
Oh, something. Might not be good. It could be good. Could we shock the world? Yes. Will we? Probably not. But this is just bonus points for the Packers fans.
Shock the world. Love it, Patch. Love it.
You have to understand. We're very passionate about our sports here. Dan, Dallas, Green Bay. Besides the historic matchup, what do you think about this game?
Well, I think it's a mismatch for the Packers a little bit because scrappy team. They've done a very good job. Jordan Love has improved every single game. Obviously, he's still making a lot of mistakes, but he's working around it better than what we've seen before. So, Packers doing really well, but this is a mismatch. Like, I don't see the Packers really having an impact in this game unless Dallas just absolutely, spits,
implodes,
chokes.
And no Darth Vader holdups. We're not allowed to. Yeah. We're not talking that. Mike, Dallas, Green Bay.
I don't trust Jordan Love in this spot, but I also look at this differently. The Cowboys have 2 guys offensively. 3 if you want to include Brandon Cooks, who you could include as go-to guy. CeeDee Lamb is the go-to guy. And I think Jake Ferguson this year has proven he can be, I don't want to say Jason Witten because Jason Witten's a Hall of Famer, but he's become a very good safety valve for Dak. I don't know what the Packers have. Like, those young receivers are going to get tested. And that offensive line against DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons, I just don't like that matchup. The key for Green Bay is getting Aaron Jones involved and getting him involved early and often. Take a little bit.
That I don't disagree with.
Love.
I mean, poor Patchy. He'll cry in his beer tonight. It's okay.
Listen, Mark. I'm not crying tonight, regardless if we win or lose. If we win, it'll be tears of joy. If we lose, all right. I'm going to take this still as a win this year. The only downside the only positive side from a loss would be is we finally fire Joe Barry if the Packers get blown out.
For all of you who have never seen this, we haven't had a chance for Patch and I to actually have Dallas Green Bay playoffs and actually have a little bit of banter in the beginning before the game
God.
on our podcast. So this is why we're just getting that little bit in now. But this is a real battle here, Dallas Green Bay. It's the game of the day. The game of the weekend. It's hard to say what game is really stand out to be the best, but Mike
Should have been
unfortunately
Bills
said it
The
Steelers.
right.
game of the weekend is actually the night game dinner.
And Mike said
Sorry
it
to
right.
tell you.
I was putting it off, saying,
Like,
no,
that's the
forget it. It's the
game.
Dallas game.
That's the
No.
script.
Mike is right. The Detroit Ram game is in the right spot for tonight.
By the way, I want to throw something out at you because I came with some numbers.
I'll catch it. No problem.
All right. So your guy Troy Aikman was 3-0 against the Packers in the playoffs,
Yep.
Unlike Des.
which would make some guy on welfare named Brett Favre 0-3.
That is correct.
But the Green Bay Packers, and I can say this because Dan's here, and New York Jets legend Aaron Rodgers was undefeated against the Cowboys in the playoffs, as was Bart Shooting Star.
That is also very true. This is one of the best playoff matchups next to Dallas, San Francisco, New England, Denver, stuff like
Or
that.
Indy. Ooh.
Stuff like that. And this is what the playoffs are about. You just don't always get the matchup you want, but this time it literally fell in our laps.
Now, if Green Bay wins, they would go to San Francisco.
Correct.
And if Dallas wins, they would host whoever the highest seed remaining is. That would not be dictated until after the Bucks and Eagles tomorrow night.
Correct.
So
we won't know until tomorrow night who's playing where and what times until after that final gun goes off, so to speak.
Oh, man. All right, Pat, you want to throw anything else out here while we're here?
Over here, just I hope it's a good game. I don't, if it turns into, the snooze fest that was Miami, Kansas City, no offense, Rifkin.
Yeah, little offended, but I'll get into that.
Yeah, the Saturday game were atrocious.
I mean, if you look at Cleveland, Houston, it started off great and then it just ended in disaster.
Yeah, Joe Flacco's career.
Yeah, well, but back to Dallas, Green Bay. Let's just have a fun, competitive game. I was looking forward to Steelers Buffalo in the snow game, but Mother Nature and local governments and officials said we're going to postpone that to Monday. So this should be a fun game today, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, so am I. As much as we battle here on the network, we all just still care about one another.
Yeah,
except a lot of Giants fans.
Well, the Giants fans overhyped themselves this season.
Yes, they did.
And Mark, I was thinking about this earlier today. You said you're bringing out a certain bourbon. Is that the last
bourbon whiskey?
The last time did you use it? I mean, fine. Whiskey. Was the last time you opened it was when the Cowboys won the Super Bowl? Just making sure.
What are you popping open? That's my question.
40-year-old should
I'm saying the last time I think you used it is when Dallas won the Super Bowl.
No, I've been having a glass of that a week.
You're gonna throw banter at me, I'll throw banter back at you. Listen, like I said, no one expected the Packers to make the playoffs. They made the playoffs. True Packer fans know this is going to be a uphill battle for Love and company to win. If they lose, it's not the end of the world. Jordan Love is still going to be our quarterback. And right now, it's just enjoy the ride. Just like when we made it in when we won Super Bowl 45. We made it as a wild card. We won a game, and then we took the ride.
You sure did. That is 100% true.
Did you keep your hands inside the car at all times?
I did.
All right, cool.
But that's Dallas Green Bay for you.
Oh my god! All right, listen, we'll dive into the other game then tonight, and then we'll dive into the stuff for tomorrow, and then we can recap Casey Miami. But like we said, the real game tonight: Rams, Lions. You brought up Darth Vader, but it is the return, Star Wars return of Matthew Stafford tonight.
And there's going to be a lot of cheer for him because of what he did in Detroit. I really think the fan response to him is going to be really, it's just going to be a positive experience for him.
Well, up until he got traded, and I still believe this. I know Jared Goff has been doing very well as Lions quarterback. He's the best Lions quarterback they had in the longest time.
Mm-hmm.
And, it showed with his play. It wasn't always perfect. The Lions didn't always have the greatest teams. That's a management issue. But, from draft day to the day he was traded in that era, that was a Matthew Stafford that made the Lions sort of relevant, or at least in the conversation. He's the best quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks they ever had, and you can't you really can't ignore that. And I think Lions fans understand that too.
I think he is the best quarterback the Lions ever had. I mean, and you could probably make the argument of outside of Barry Sanders, he might be the most. Barry Sanders, Calvin Johnson, and then
I was about to say you're kind of forgetting Megatron.
Those are the top three
Yeah.
Lions probably of all time. By the way, Calvin Johnson said he's going to be in the building tonight. So,
not to take away anything from Rodney Peete, because he was actually really a good quarterback, but Stafford better.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that sucks if you're Detroit is they never got it right with Stafford there, and they had plenty of opportunities.
Oh, yeah.
And so for this game, for this moment, for that guy to be walking into Ford Field, you couldn't script it any better.
Yeah. I mean, Jared Goff and this offense is fast. I mean, they have two receivers who can blow by almost any corner in this league. You got a rookie tight end in Sam Laporta who has beaten out every other rookie tight end this season. And with gusto too. I don't know if the Rams defense can keep up with the speed of this Lions offense. Now, that being said, we have watched the collapse of the Lions defense over the last 6 weeks in the secondary. Stafford, one of the most accurate passers over the last 5 to 6 years. And you got Nakua and you got Cooper Kupp and you got Karen Williams. This could be like Mike said last night. He said it could be a shootout.
Yeah, and you talk about the Lions secondary. They have to up front get pressure on Stafford. That's the game. If you get to Stafford, make him a little tentative with the ball. He's got that old gunslinger mentality still. He will throw an interception here and there. That's also been the issue with Jared Goff at times this year. He's gotten a little turnover happy. So it might be whoever wins at the line of scrimmage wins the game.
Dan, if you're looking at this game and you got Jahmyr Gibbs, you got Jameson Williams, you got Amon-Ra St. Brown on one side. On the other side, you got Karen Williams, Cooper Kupp, and Matthew Stafford. I'm just taking 3-3. Three perfect offense. Which offense of what I just said is better?
I'll tell you who has the hot hand, and that's LA. LA has the hot hand for sure.
Okay.
On paper, the Lions are the better team, but it's not about who's better on paper today. Momentum is a real thing, and the Rams have it right now. So expect them to go wild. I'm not saying they'll win the game, but expect them to really be on something right now.
Okay. Mike?
The thing about the Rams is they've got the experience.
Another fair point.
And the lines outside of Goff, the lines have never been there.
Yeah.
I the Lions have had such a good year. But I like the Rams on the road.
I've been covering the Lions all year, and I don't think I've seen a much more talented young offense this season. I think this team is just going to get better. They're going to, and they'll do it via the draft. They'll do it via free agency because now showing what they can do, they're going to attract certain types of players now that they didn't attract years ago.
I think that's a really good point, too, because now it'll become a destination because it's a team that's put in the work, they've put in the effort. And listen, they've been aggressive in free agency before. Like this past offseason, they signed Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I know he changed his name or whatever, but I'm still going to call him Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. He's going to probably play tonight because he played last week.
Yeah.
So that's a big help for them.
Yeah.
The one thing I think they miss, and I could totally be off, is if they got a presence right across from Aiden Hutchinson. That would be a game changer for them.
Hutchinson has been so good this season, and I know he's in his second year. He reminds me of DeMarcus Ware. His versatility, whether it's dropping back into the short pass defense or getting to the quarterback. Even though he's a linebacker and DeMarcus Ware was a defensive lineman, there's a lot of similarity in his strength and his speed, whether he's coming straight on a blitz or he's doing a stunt on the outside. If Aiden Hutchinson can get in and disrupt Stafford, that would be very big. You control Aiden Hutchinson, there's not really another big standout besides what Mike had mentioned already.
And if you flip side to the other side, you've got if not the best player on defense in the league right now, you got a top 3 in Aaron Donald. And he is such a disruptor. And you're going to probably have to double team him, but they've got guys. Kobe Turner's got a pretty good case for defensive rookie of the year. Byron Young's had a pretty good year. They move around the Ram defense. Raheem Morris has had a really good year. That's why he's getting some interviews for head coaching gigs. But if the Rams win, 99 is going to have a massive impact.
And with what the Lions offense does, it's a good combination, but they rely on that running game to get going with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, who had also a sensational rookie year. If they can force Goff to, switch to all passing, it's not the end of the world, but expect Goff to probably throw at least one pick because he is aggressive with his throws and he'll try fitting it into the small windows because he can, but sometimes it just doesn't go his way.
Yeah. And big key. Laporta looks like he's going to try to give it a go tonight.
Yeah,
He's going to wear a brace on that knee after hurting it last week, which, by the way, listen, I think Dan Campbell had a marvelous season this year. I get it. If the Cowboys and Eagles both lost, the Lions could have been the 2 seed. I don't understand the fact that he played his starters the whole game.
That I didn't understand either.
Because you're banking on the Commanders and the Giants to both do their part. But, yeah, what do I know? Lions could go out and win the whole damn thing. Who knows?
Hey, wouldn't that be a kick? Well, it'd be a kick to the nuts for me, but
but think about it this way: you got a team like the Lions, you got a team like the Texans.
yeah, well, that would be fun.
I mean,
Detroit,
ever won?
Detroit, Houston.
They've never even been to a Super Bowl. So.
Could you imagine C.J. Stroud taking them to the Super Bowl?
Oh my man. You know who? I hate to go back to Stroud for a second, but
yeah, I know. But
you know who he kind of has that aura of? He's kind of like Joe Burrow.
That's a very good comparison. I don't think I can make one quite as good. So he's just got that presence in the pocket that he's not afraid to take a hit while he's throwing.
And the weird thing, both Ohio State guys for a bit. Burrow transferred to LSU, but yeah, so
right.
But man, those are the games today because Steelers Bills were moved due to the weather, and apparently it is still crummy weather out there in Orchard Park in Buffalo, and that game got moved to 4:30 tomorrow.
4:30 on a Monday.
Well, it's Martin Luther King Day, so.
which I understand. So you are giving the fans a chance because it's most of people are not working, so you're giving the fans a chance to be there. The question is, are they going to get that stadium cleaned out in time?
Well, I know the Bills were willing to pay some of the fans like $20.
$20 an hour
to shovel it.
I'm sorry. I want a lot more than $20 an hour. I'm gonna go break my ass to watch the Bills play.
What about free food and beverage vouchers?
How about the first 20 get a suite?
That's fair too. But the Bills Steelers will be down played tomorrow, and look, I think if the weather continues to go this way, I don't think they can move the game again just for the fact of
no
how the playoffs play out. But I got to tell you this. We've seen funky things happen with funky weather games.
The tuck rule.
That being said, I don't see the Steelers pulling this one out, not without TJ Watt.
And I don't trust the quarterbacks, even though, it's been a little bit of a hot hand last few weeks, but I don't trust that offense against the Bills defense.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Bills defense is much better. And, Buffalo's now without Gabe Davis. They're also without starting safety. I can't think of his name right now. Thank you. And that's those are big losses because, it's a wide receiver for Allen, and it's someone who's been very dominant in stopping the run game for Buffalo. So if Pittsburgh was going to have any success, it's going to be on the ground, not in the air. I think Buffalo wins this game outright.
Yeah, I do too. I think the Bills front, I think, will give the Steelers offensive line problems. And I'll say this too, because I think there are 3 quarterbacks under intense pressure this playoff. One of them is on the bye week, and that's Lamar. I think number 2 is Dak, and I'll get into my point in a minute. But right there with them is Josh Allen. Because if Josh Allen wants to be the guy, I think this has to be the year. And I say for this reason. Despite what happened last night, and we'll get into Kansas City in a minute, they're going to have to go on the road, Kansas City. They're not going to get the home games. So if you get them in your house, you have to beat them.
Right.
So that's taken care of. You'd have to go on the road to play Baltimore. That's fine. Lamar's also under the scrutiny. But there's no Joe Burrow in this playoff. There's no Justin Herbert in this playoff. There's no Bill Belichick in this playoff to hold you back. And to me, if I'm Josh Allen and if I'm the Bills, I have to get it this year because I don't know what's going to happen next year because Burrow's going to be healthy. Who knows who the Chargers coach is going to be? Kansas City might or might acquire a great receiver. Year to year, we don't know what's going to happen. Cleveland, like we talked about Cleveland before. Well, we never mentioned, Deshaun Watson was hurt. Nick Chubb was out from week 2 on. They're going to get him back next year. So from year to year, we don't even know what's going to happen. So this is the time, if you're the Bills, to go out there and win the AFC while you've got a great opportunity in front of you.
It's, you make a very good point when you put it up there with Dak. A lot of people have asked me, why aren't you fed up with Dak? It's because Dak can play. Okay? I'm so sick and tired of hearing, oh, he throws the most. No, he gets scrutinized the most because he's on the most popular football team, and that's America's team. And people don't like the fact that the Cowboys are called that. So they compare Dak to every horrible player. I think even last year they compared Dak to Daniel Jones. I mean, I don't care if my quarterback throws 14 interceptions if I'm making the playoffs. Okay? Your quarterback didn't, and he played all 17 games. Dak Prescott is under the gun. Yes. I think they win this game, but you have to look at Josh Allen. And you're right. If he wants to be the guy that Dak Prescott and Jerry Jones wants, if Josh Allen wants to be that guy in Buffalo, it has to be at least the AFC title game. Mm-hmm. I can't say the Super Bowl because you can't guarantee
one's guaranteed the Super Bowl.
Right. You can't guarantee that. But if I'm Josh Allen and I want my organization to have faith in me, then you got to get your ass to the title game.
And I'm not saying the organization is losing any faith in him. It's just there comes a point in time next year, because when we do this all again, starting in August, here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about whatever upgrades are made by these teams, but we're also going to talk about the return of Deshaun Watson in Cleveland. We're going to talk about, I know Dan is muted and is doing this, but I think he could hear me. Aaron Rodgers is returning for the Jets. I'm not sitting here saying the Jets are going to be a miraculous playoff team next year, but you have to expose the threat that is Aaron Rodgers.
They have to, for one thing. It has to be. You have to play well, and it has to translate to wins.
Mm-hmm.
If it doesn't translate to wins, it doesn't matter. Bottom line.
No, right. So that plus what are the Chargers going to do with their coach? The Raiders coaching situation is intriguing. By the way, it should be Antonio Pierce.
I was about to say it shouldn't be anybody but Antonio Pierce.
Yeah, no, and early in the season when he was named the interim coach, I thought it was probably just a temporary thing, and obviously the Raiders weren't playing well, but down the stretch, they showed some guts, and that's coaching.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You
And
can
they
choose to
played
better
their
win-
butts off for him, and
yeah,
that showed.
and winning games against the Chiefs, putting yourself in position for a possible playoff spot, even though it was a long shot to begin with.
Mhm.
That's coaching, man.
Coaching, and it matters. So, yeah. So, Bills Steelers is tomorrow afternoon, 4:30. Tomorrow night, we got Mark's other favorite team, the Philadelphia Eagles. They'll travel to Tampa, play Baker and the Bucks.
Yeah.
And AJ Brown has been declared out.
Because why the hell was he playing and Hurts playing in that final game? Yeah, I understand it meant for the division. But look what's happened. You've now lost AJ Brown because he was in on the fourth quarter. And I don't know if they declared it a tear, but I do know it's a severe sprain at least. And now he's out. Jalen Hurts hurt his finger in the first half, and he said he couldn't throw. He hasn't been able to grip a football all week.
Yeah, he didn't throw, I think, until yesterday. They showed online.
And I'm sorry. At what point do you say, what the heck are we doing? You can't hold, who we have behind him? And that's the question they need to be asking. Who's behind Hurts? Who's behind AJ Brown? Because now your great slot receiver is going to be eyed in that Tampa defense. Donta Foreman. Not Donta.
Devontae Smith.
Yes. I said I was going Donta Ford. I was like, wrong friggin' guy. Damn it.
Well, they've signed. They did bring in Julio down by the schoolyard and Julio Jones, who's I'm surprised still around, and Quez Watkins. But this is going to be a game where, listen, I think the Eagles' choke job is done. Like I think they're. The only reason you would pick the Eagles is because they have more talent than the Bucks. But at the end of the day, the Bucks have been playing way better football recently, despite my dislike of Todd Bowles. But yeah, Philly's choke job. It's a choke job. I don't know what they're doing. You're right. Like you know what MetLife has cost. Why are these guys playing? I get it means the division, and it's still you're good. If you're a good football team, as much as you'd love home field advantage, you're like, all right, we might be able to go on the road here and win a couple of games too. But this team was 10-1, and they completely keep using the word choke, but they choked. But we also knew at 10-1, they weren't the same team that went to the Super Bowl last year.
Right.
They weren't as physically dominating teams. On the offensive line has had its issues. The defense is not getting any turnovers. And if they don't get to the quarterback, it's a big play happening. I go back to the Seattle game on Monday night. I still have no idea what James Bradbury saw one-on-one on Jackson Smith and Jigba. And he got burned. I don't know, Philly. I think Philly's going to have to take a long look in the mirror if they lose this game to Tampa. But on the flip side, if you're the Bucks, you played meaningful football down the stretch.
Yeah.
I think Baker Mayfield's playing the best. He's playing the best he's ever played.
I don't disagree there.
You've got two elite receivers with Evans and Godwin. You can run the ball with Rachaad White, and defensively, you're still really good because you have those guys who helped you win a Super Bowl. Levante David and Devin White are elite linebackers. Antoine Winfield Jr. is an elite safety. Carlton Davis is a good corner. If they can get to Jalen Hurts, which is going to be the main focus, because I think you'll agree with this. Jalen Hurts is not healthy. Not
No.
just his finger. I'm thinking lower extremities
I
too.
think there's something wrong with his knee. Yes.
Yeah.
One of his knees.
So if you don't let him get out of the pocket, I think you got a really good chance if you're Tampa Bay.
Baker Mayfield, I made the statement that Joe Flacco could get a comeback player of the year. Now it goes to Baker Mayfield. I mean, what a year he's had down in Tampa Bay. You have to come in after the shadow of Tom Brady, and it didn't bother him. He let it go by him. He went in and played his style of football and got Evans and Godwin got on track with him. You have said Rashad White has done a great job running the ball. And again, defensively, they're not bad. They're not excellent. They have
They're
some
good enough.
issues, but they're good enough to take on this Philadelphia team because DeAndre Swift is not a guy who can do 24 to 30 carries plus 10 receptions. He's not Emmitt Smith. He's not Marshall Faulk. Neither was Miles Sanders, but Miles Sanders made it work somehow. They found a way to work with Miles Sanders, and that goes back to Mike's comments on the offensive line and their issues. So I truly believe that Tampa Bay wins this game tomorrow night.
I'll say this. It would be a very interesting couple of days in Philadelphia if the Eagles lose this game, because we're going to have some conversations. And I'm not going to talk Howie Roseman because I think he's done a wonderful job as a GM, but we're going to have a Nick Sirianni conversation. We're
And
going
a big Dom.
We're going to have a coordinator conversation. And look, I don't want to belittle the guy because I do think Hurts was hurt, but we're going to have to figure some things out about that offensive line. Like, is Jason Kelce done? Is he coming back? Or is he going to be busy making more soup commercials with his brother?
Kelsey's had a great career. I mean, you have to know when it's time to hang it up and whether it's this year, next year. He doesn't have 10 more years in the league.
No.
He's got a couple of years left, and the question becomes does he see a chance of returning to the playoffs next year or being even with the Eagles organization if they go through a change and he's not wanting to be part of a rebuild. So, he's in a unique position. His brother's been in some unique positions, I'm sure. But Travis has said he's not planning on retiring, but Jason Kelce has had an excellent career. He's got a Super Bowl title.
Yes, he does. Yes.
Yeah, he's got a Super Bowl title.
Yeah, I forgot about the Philly special.
Yes, you got to be proud about that, and you can call your career. I mean, anybody who plays calls their career a success. I don't care what you are. You made it to where only 1% of the world does. So, it comes down to give and play and try and make it happen.
It'll have to be Fletcher Cox. Yeah. They're going to have to decide on Kelce, Fletcher Cox, amongst others. So, but that again, if Philly loses, San Francisco will play the lowest seed remaining. Dallas would play the highest if they could go out and beat the Green Bay Packers.
It's looking more like the way we're talking, it looks like Tampa's headed to San Francisco and LA's headed to Dallas.
That's the way it sounds like we're talking.
Yeah. We flip it to the other side. We're saying, I'll let Mike lead this one since I led the NFC.
No, like Baltimore looks like they'll play either Pittsburgh or Houston.
And that's going to be a fantastic game if it's Houston.
Yeah, if Pittsburgh wins, it's Baltimore Pittsburgh, which, by the way, probably the best rivalry in football right now.
Oh, one of the top.
And
Yes.
then you get Buffalo, Kansas City if Buffalo wins. Because Kansas City laid it on the Dolphins last night. Mahomes was really good. Rashee Rice had a nice coming out party.
Right. He had a great rookie year as well.
Yeah, he came on late. He had a great game last night, 130 and a touchdown.
Yeah.
Kelsey did his thing. But the difference in Kansas City this year as opposed to years past, Pacheco. He is such a game changer for that.
The question is, what is he? I know right now he's the new Clyde Edwards-Helaire. That's what he is. Is he going to be the same person next season? Or is it safe to say that Kansas City could be in the running for a Henry or a Barkley?
No, I think they need more of a guy on the outside than they needed a running back.
Okay.
Because to me, Pacheco reminds me a lot of Henry. He's not as big as Henry is, but he runs with like that anger, and it doesn't take one guy to get him down. It takes 2 to 3 get him down. And I think the thing they need is a game changer on the outside. Now, that could be Rashee Rice, the way he played last night. You still have Kelsey, but the other guys don't do much for me. And then Spags defensively was phenomenal. And you want to talk about a guy who's had a really good year. Steve Spagnuolo. They said it on the broadcast, which was, by the way, I don't want to listen to Jason Garrett call another NFL game ever again. Because let me tell you something. I thought Chris Collinsworth was bad with that. Here's a guy. Jason Garrett, you can't tell me before halftime the Dolphins take a knee, and then when they run a play, let it rip. Make up your mind, bro.
Look, my good friend Jason Garrett. No,
the clap.
Garrett will be the clap. I wanted him to stay in Dallas as the OC. He wasn't going to do that. Obviously, you don't go from head coach and you take a step down. So he went into broadcasting. He's going to see broadcasting is not what he wants. He will be back in the NFL, maybe not next year, but within 2 years, offensively minded with some team.
Would he go to college? Or do you think he's...
I wouldn't see why not. To prove that he can still do it, why not? I mean, that wouldn't be... It's not a step down in any way. I mean, you're going from the NFL to college, but still competitive. And if you can prove you're competitive there and win, then you can be back in the NFL.
Jim Harbaugh.
Exactly.
So, but the Chiefs have the youngest defense in the league, which I was stunned by. And they got 2 outstanding corners with McDuffie and L'Jarius Sneed. Chris Jones is the disruptor in the middle. And then you got 2 linebackers. Nick Bolton, who had the big play in the Super Bowl last year, and Drew Tranquil, who they signed away from the Los Angeles Chargers of San Diego, who's just a tackling machine. So that defense, Carl Loftus, the former first-round pick from Purdue's, played well. They just have dudes on that defense, and it's amazing what they've done.
Watching that KC game last night, my heart kind of went out to Mike a lot. But the weather really, yes, it was cold. It was enough to crack helmets out there, and we'll still be seeing those pieces that came off Mahomes' helmet in some National Treasures card in next
Oh,
year or something like
by
that.
the way, I don't need freaking Terry McCauley telling me he should be coming out of the game or there needs to be a timeout. But, ref's going to ref.
So, I mean, you can't, I mean, it was cold. It was, I think there were a lot of factors. You can't take away Hill had was active. Waddle was active. I just think it was too cold for Tua. And I'm sorry to say it like that, Mike, because you saw my guy Don Amici. He ran pretty well. I just don't think Tua could get the ball out like he was used to all season.
Well, I think a couple of things. One, I would have liked to see Tyreek more involved early in this game. He wound up with 562 and a touch. Most of those yardage came on the long touchdown. Waddle. Listen, I'm going to get into a whole soliloquy.
Go for it.
The defense had so many injuries when you're missing Chubb and Jalen Phillips. And look, I don't even blame Vic Fangio for this because they played pretty well for the most part. I get it. 26 points is a lot, but when you're down the amount of guys they were down last night, they were holding Kansas City to field goals down in the red zone where Kansas City punches them in. You were holding them to field goals all day. But you have to tackle better as a defense. I don't want to see Eli Apple ever play for the Miami Dolphins again. Go mess up with another team or something. Dude can't tackle, can barely cover.
From New York to Chicago to Miami.
And
Where do you
Cincinnati. Don't forget, he was on the Bengals team.
Going on to possibly his fifth team in 5 years.
Yeah. This team needs a couple of things this offseason. Then we can have the Tua discourse if you want. First thing this team's got to do is re-sign Christian Wilkins. To me, he's the heart and soul of this team. He got called for a roughing the passer last night, which to me is still freaking outrageous. It's a freaking push. Get over it.
I know.
He needs to come back. This team needs a receiver with some size to it. Waddle's not a big guy. Tyreek's not a big guy. They need a guy who gives them some size and can win on a fade. I think they need a running back who can run with some physicality. They're the team to me. Like forget a Dalvin Cook. They're the team that Derrick Henry would be perfect for.
Okay.
Because you go Derrick Henry, your guy Don Amici. That's what they don't have. They don't have a physical running back. They don't have physical receivers. And that's why you get out physical at times. So I think at this point, they need to figure out what's coming in, what's coming out. Mike McDaniel comes from San Francisco. Tyreek and Waddle, they're speed demons. They're great. Debo and Ayuk are fast, but they're also very physical at the point of attack. The Dolphins aren't physical enough.
Okay.
So I think they need a guy who can help them run the ball effectively, a receiver with some size. Now, I'm not saying you're going to go spend money on Mike Evans because that's not what I'm saying. But you go get someone who's a bigger body receiver. Even if it's in the draft, I could care less. I need a big body receiver. Defensively, next year, you'll have Jalen Ramsey the whole year. You'll hopefully have Xavier Howard the whole year. Eventually, you'll get Bradley Chubb back and Phillips, but they're gonna need to figure some things out. And then the Tua discourse is this: I'm not 1,000% sure. I don't know what I would give him money-wise. If you firmly believe in him, I can't give him Burrow money. I can't even give him Herbert money, to be honest with you. So you're looking at, I don't know what to give him contractually. If he's willing to take something in the mid 30s per year, I'd say, all right, let's see what we can do. But I'm not going like 42 to 45 million a year. I can't do it.
Right.
Not after last night, not after the last couple of games. But it's also on Mike McDaniel because he's got to go back to the drawing board and go, all right, what worked, what doesn't work. But I like the process they're in. Back to back years in the playoffs, it's a good start, but you know what the end goal is.
Like any other team, yes, you want a consistency, and Miami's starting to prove that, kind of like Detroit is starting to get more reliable of a team. I like Tyreek Hill all the way back when he was in KC, so I was kind of jealous when Mike got him, but then I got CD Lamb, so that worked out fine. Um, I don't disagree with Mike's statement on the fact that they need a receiver with size. I think that is definitely a excellent point. As point out, speed they have. Waddle's got speed. Hill, we all know, can't be caught. You know, so getting a guy, that you can put, like Mike said, who can win on a fade like a Plaxico Burress type size guy is kind of what you would be looking for here. Kind of like Dallas with Michael Irvin. You can make all the little things for each receiver. Randy Moss. That would be a great change. And then nothing against Mozart at all, and nothing against Don Amici. They had good years. I mean, 800 yards on the ground for A-Chain, and then 1,000 on the ground for Mozart. But neither one of them were, like you said, dominant. Neither one of them, but they have talent. So Henry, something like that. I don't disagree with you. And then, no offense to Rishi Mostert, I would let him go, and I would keep A-Chain. That's the change of pace.
Oh, I would keep A-Chain too. I would let Mostert walk in. Not because Mostert's a bad running back. You also got to think he's already 31, 32 years old. He just was always injured. And this team, look, it's got some deficiencies. The offensive line does need some work as well. There is no perfect team in the NFL. The closest to it's either Baltimore or San Francisco. But look at how they're built. They are built from the line of scrimmages out. So one of them has a franchise quarterback. The other one's hoping he's pretty good. But, listen, I think if you're a Dolphin fan, the end is bitter. It's a bitter disappointment. But you could see some of the flashes grow. It's close. It's not there yet, but you're very close to starting the engine. But
I think Tua will have a better year next year. I mean, he didn't have a bad year this year. I just think it's going to get better.
The best thing he did was he was able to stay healthy. And
yes.
I think that was the most important thing he had to prove, not only to himself and to the organization, but to the fan base.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right. So that they're going to the offseason. So Kansas City will either play Houston or Buffalo. Baltimore will play either Pittsburgh or Houston. NFC happens tonight.
Yeah. And we're not going to really know the result fully until after the Philadelphia-Tampa game for the NFC completely. And that will be tomorrow night.
But we would know the
The thought we would
The
know
thoughts
right
of what
after
can
Dallas walks all over the cheese and spreads it all over the place. Dallas will be hosting the divisional game.
Man, let's be real honestly. You couldn't, if you're the NFL, and listen, I get it. Thoughts, people in Buffalo area stay safe. But think if you're the NFL, they dub it Super Wild Card Weekend, and then all of a sudden you get 2 games Saturday, 2 games Sunday, 2 games Monday.
Things fall in your lap. The only thing I just can't grasp around is it's at 4:30 in the afternoon. That's it.
I mean, yeah, they probably just didn't want to go 4 hours but who knows?
Right.
By the way, did you read the thing about the NFL and ESPN are having these conversations about potentially ESPN having a stake?
Oh, you talking about having a game wise ESPN Plus? Or you
No, hold on. I will.
sorry.
Let me see if I can find it really quick. This
No,
is
not a problem. While Mike's looking that up, Dak Prescott is fully healthy doing the twist currently while he's warming up a little bit down in Dallas.
all right. So this is from Yahoo. If I can ever pull this up. The NFL is reportedly in advanced talks with ESPN to buy stake in the sports network.
Oh,
If talks come to fruition, the partnership would streamline distribution of the league's game broadcast while further muddying the waters of ESPN's role in covering the NFL as an objective journalistic enterprise. Per the report in the New York Post, the two entities have progressed to the point that team owners and players' associations are being informed about the discussions. A league partnership with ESPN would need to be addressed in the CBA that lays out revenue sharing between the players and the owners. Wow.
that's interesting.
So, per the report, a partnership would include ESPN taking control of NFL media, which includes NFL.com, NFL Network, and Red Zone. The
I was
league
about to
would in
ask,
turn,
is NFL Network a part of that?
yes,
Because
NFL Network looks to be a part of this in the article.
that's huge.
Because if you think about it, everybody what the NFL did with last night's game was atrocious, putting it on Peacock and then telling everybody you can go sign up for $5. No, it's the playoffs. You don't do that.
It should always be on over the air television, no matter what.
Right. And so if you wanted to take it, ESPN Plus will now be where you can get like NFL Sunday tickets, so to speak, if you make that type of partnership. And then you still run every game on national channels, but you're again offering the prime thing. You're not going to buy NBC, you're not going to buy Fox, you're buying ESPN.
The Sunday ticket, I think YouTube still has that contract.
YouTube has Sunday ticket.
Right, but I'm saying would be kind of like that if you could go on ESPN Plus if there's some deal and go watch the games.
Yeah. So like what they do with the NHL. Some of the NHL games.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Plus. Yeah, and then it's not the ESPN broadcast, it's the local broadcast. So maybe you will get like a CBS broadcast being streamed on ESPN Plus. I don't know how CBS would feel about that, but
it is what it is. Right.
I think that's insane.
I mean, I don't know what's more insane. That or the fact that ESPN has gotten creative with their Golden Globe names for the last 13 years and decided to get names that were not even real. And then once those names won, they would shave off the name and send it somewhere else. I could not believe that article. I know this goes way out from where we were.
No,
But that was the most
fine.
insane article of the last week that I've read.
Yeah. All right. Oh man, yeah. So be on the lookout for that ESPN NFL deal. I mean, I guess that would also mean the Super Bowl's going to get played on ESPN a couple
Well, it's
I
already
know.
it's on the ABC rotation now.
Oh,
So
is ABC on the rotation?
Oh yeah, the new contract started, so now ABC's in the rotation again.
Which
Go.
then which puts it all together right then and there.
Boom. All right. Disney and the NFL.
I'm sure there's a Simpsons thing we can make a reference to eventually that was predicted.
Homer going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. That'll do it for this edition of the SIN Sunday Sideline Report. Follow us on, I guess I have to call it X, but follow us on Twitter at SInsanityReal. We're also on Facebook. Check out the website, www.thesportsinsanitynetwork.com. Blogs, vlogs, planes, trains, and automobiles. And for President Lawrence Patchman Lang, Vice President Danny Boy Reginald, the old ops guy, I'm Mike Griffey. We'll see you next week for the divisional round of the playoffs. Enjoy the next 2 days, everybody.